I'm just going to start the broadcast. So we're live. It's 1 o'clock. I'm sure there might be some people who can join us. Actually, I think Catherine from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. She was going to present, but she's not able to, so she's just going to watch. She was interested in participating. So there might be a couple of other people. So we are live now, and we'll just give it another minute or so, and then we can start with an introduction of who we all are, so that people know who they're talking to. Becky, if you want, do you remember how I showed you how to turn on your lower?
So it's so funny. I'm just trying to do it right now. Where do I go?
It's over to the left side. There's a little red toolbox. And even when I give the instructions, they don't always work, as you'll see some of us have them and some of us don't. Oh,
little red. Did I do it?
Nah, you want to add the little toolbox.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think I did it.
Hey. Catherine got hers working.
Except I don't have my logo. That's my...
Did I do it?
Yep, you're on. Okay. There we go. So, thanks everyone for joining us. The purpose of this hangout is just to set down a bit of a framework for developing a school program for visitors to museums or science centers. We're going to look at the elementary school level. Myself and Connie and Cassandra, not yourself, but somebody else from Leduc #1, as well as somebody from Kitimat. We had our initial discussion about 2 weeks ago, and it just seemed that if all of us wanted to do this, then why do 3 programs? Why not just try and work together and cut the work in a third, hopefully, and have something that's useful for everyone. So my name is Jason Armstrong. I'm with the Museum of Science and Tech, and I work on a program called Let's Talk Energy, all around energy education. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. So hi, my name is Christina, and I work at the Canada Science and Technology Museums Corporation in the National Education and Outreach team. Nice to meet all of you.
I'm Becky. I'm with Green Learning Canada, and we develop resources for teachers on energy sustainability in the environment. And I've actually had the pleasure of working with Christina when I was in my previous job. So I'm so happy to see you too, and everyone else.
I'm Catherine Wagner. I'm the program director at Inside Education, and we're a nonprofit that supports teachers and inspires students when it comes to natural resource and environment education. Full suite of programs we have.
I'm Connie Bell from the Oil Museum in Oil Springs, and we're a National Historic Site, the first commercial oil field. So I assist with developing the school programs and other activities here at the museum.
Hi, and I'm Cassandra from Leduc #1 Energy Discovery Center, and I'm the education coordinator at the museum.
I'm just going to unmute myself. You can mute yourself if you want, if you're not talking, but I can also do it from here if we're getting any feedback. So the first thing we wanted to look at was just what the curriculum says. So I'm going to speak from the Ontario perspective. The best links for elementary level for energy education are at the grade 5 and 6 level. Grade 5 is a lot about natural resources and sort of where energy comes from, and looking at some of the different challenges and opportunities that exist with each of those energy sources, and it's also a lot about changes in states in matter. So that also has an energy aspect to it. So I think that's a great place to start for kind of a really broad discussion on energy. There's also a grade 6 curriculum link, which is electricity-based, which also could have a lot of good activities, but knowing that we have like Leduc and the Oil Museum of Canada, so it's more about those natural resources. So I think that would be a good place to start today. What about from Alberta or Cassandra, I know that there's been a ton of new curriculum development happening.
Yes. For the most part, from what we've done before, we've kind of made a connection from kindergarten to grade 12. So some the younger grades, K to 2 is kind of hard to do with any grade to make the connection to the oil industry and energy. But with kindergarten grade 1, we have an earth science and environmental just awareness. Kindergarten to grade 3, we have community is a big one, history, historical buildings and sites, and that relates to us because of the first discovery here in Alberta. Grade 3 is important with us because there's lots of rocks and fossils and minerals, and we connect that to the start of the oil industry, not so much just energy. But our biggest connection is grade 4, because in Alberta, it's just Alberta, the land, the history, and stories. So we connect a lot with the history of Leduc #1, history of Alberta, all the natural resources that it has, and just the stories behind it. Grade 5, we do a little bit of natural resources, like Jason said, too. Grade 6, it's more of evidence and investigation, so it'd be easier to connect more with the energy that way. But that's kind of the overview of it.
Catherine, do you want to add anything? Because I'm sure that you've also been affected, because I know like Alberta's, I guess, in the process of redeveloping. I'm not sure if everything's been done, but...
Yeah, it's a slow process in Alberta. I think the biggest thing that's happened with curriculum in the last little bit, although they are working at developing a new elementary curriculum, I do think it's quite a few years off, and it's just in sort of this design stage right now. So the actual implementation is probably a good 2 years or more away. But what did happen is in 2013, there was a new ministerial order on education, and that had just caused teachers to rethink how they approach the curriculum that they have or the program of studies that they have. So it was focused on critical thinking and experience-based learning and all the stuff that I think we're so good at. I'm speaking about all of us, not just Inside Education, all of you guys. And so we've been working a lot with teachers in how to implement this new ministerial order and work with cross-curricular outcomes. So that's been really interesting as well. So how does the social studies overlap with the science, and you know, how can then we bring in careers education to that? And so a whole bunch of really interesting things. But in terms of the curricular outcomes, I think she covered them. The only one I would add would be electricity in grade 5 is a big one for us as well.
Connie, can you tell us a little bit about what do you have at your site?
Yes, we mainly concentrate on grade 4. We do the rocks and the minerals because, as you say, for the formation of oil, and we have a great geology display here, and we have lots of rock samples and fossils, so that seems to be popular. And then in the grade 5, again, we get into the conservation of energy, renewable, non-renewable resources, properties and changes in matter, because we get into the refining and we're close to the petrochemical industry here in Sarnia. So we pretty much concentrate on those areas.
Okay. Becky, do you want to say anything about what green learning, kind of where your resources are?
I mean, I'm more familiar. Yeah, I'm more familiar with our high school. For elementary, we do the same things. We have resources on electricity, conservation of matter. I think just it'd be helpful for me. So our resources are online lesson plans for teachers, and so anyone can use them, and they're free and they're tied to the curriculum. So that's the resources. It'd be helpful when people are talking about the resources, they could say what type of, like, I understand that they correlate to that electricity or conservation of matter, but what you guys are doing in that area would be helpful to know, like what the particular resource is that you have for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So we can, moving forward, we can kind of be a little more specific about what we want to, how we want to see this develop and shape up. I was wondering.
Yeah, because I feel. Yeah, sorry, Jason. I feel like there's a lot. We're all doing similar things, but I'm sure they're all complementary, and it would be nice to see where they all fit together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what would be ideal in my mind, and I might be wrong. So this is where, like, Cassandra and Connie, tell me if this is not where you want to go, because again, like, I think I heard Cheryl at Leduc and Connie, yourself, and Louise in Kitimat saying, like, well, we'd like to develop some more school-based things for around energy. So if we could come out of a couple of these meetings with a 90-minute school program that had kind of 30 minutes of presenter-led demonstrations and kind of key concepts that you're explaining to the class up in front of them, you're getting the class active and up in front and helping you, or you're doing little activities with all the class, and then a series of activity stations where the students are moving around the classrooms, or maybe all the students are doing one activity and then they're doing a second activity, and you have 3 to 4 activities that last the rest of the hour, so that that's what I'm imagining is a format that I've worked with. Is that what seems like that would be attractive to both of Connie and Cassandra to do at your site? Because then it also helps Becky or any of us be able to find and get those resources for you.
I think that would be great. The activities, I think that's what the kids enjoy most. That's where they learn most, is by doing. So yes, the activities.
So you guys go into the schools and you do it with the students, or how does it work?
Not at our site. The students come to us at the moment. We don't go into the schools, but it's perhaps an area where we need to be due to busing concerns and cost concerns, and we're a bit removed from most schools. It's quite a distance. So
they come to hang out with you guys for the day and then learn about specific topics?
Right, half a day usually.
Okay.
Yeah, they come out to site here as well. Typically, they only are out here for about 2 to 3 hours, so it's really hard to incorporate our museum, like doing the tour plus an activity, especially if there's a lot of kids. We have to go in rotations, and sometimes the way the teachers plan, they are either late, so we run out of time for the activity part, and that's my big thing. But if we were to create a program that I could offer separately from that kind of program, that they know that they have this time for just that energy program, and then maybe they can stay longer for the tour, you know what I mean? It can be something like that. But yeah, my programs usually have to be, because I have a learning lab, they do a curriculum-based activity, and it's usually like maybe 20-25 minutes that I can do something with them. So even some quick activities that I could pull into that as well would be helpful for me. But
okay, well, maybe we end up with a whole series of demonstrations and activities, and then people can pull them together. Christina, we haven't heard from you, and I know you've done a lot of education programs. Maybe you can give some of your insight on what you find works here, also about how it's linking to curriculum and the importance there.
Sure, like generally, meaning? Go ahead.
No, just, I mean, you've worked with a lot of our school programs, and you know what works and what doesn't here, and I think we probably face the same challenge. You don't want to take students out of one classroom and just stick them into another classroom at a museum. You want them to have that museum experience, but you also want to kind of focus for the teacher and help them get through their curriculum.
Right. So for the Science and Technology Museum, we had specific school programs and so school groups could choose to come and visit the museum, but they could also choose to, book a specific school program on top of their regular visit, and that was done in a separate space in a classroom. And we had the luxury of separating our programming space from the regular exhibit space, and that was nice because of the noise and all that stuff. But basically, our programs were uniquely designed to fit the curriculum links for teachers, and so I believe for us we had a grade 3 program and a grade 5 program specifically on the different kinds of energy, and it was we found that it was super important, to put those curriculum links front and center in our promotion. It just helped the teacher link and understand what it is that we were going to present, and even often we took the words directly out of the curriculum to make it super easy for them. So that was like another trick that we found. So and these are things that we specifically did for you know, the in-class stuff. But if you're looking for, you know, activity ideas, I thought maybe Jason and I would show what we have on our website. So some of the resources that are available to all, but maybe could inspire somebody to do, you know, energy-related activities. That's useful. I'm going to try and share my screen. Bear with me.
Can I just ask a quick question? Are you guys looking for any topic in energy, or is there specifics?
I looked at, again, the grade 5 curriculum, and so to me, where I think you could do, I think there could be some activities or demos around changes of states. I think that there could be some on the idea of renewable, non-renewable, conservation. So I'd say that, you know, those would be the 4 main areas, and then each of those you could have like a number of activities that would touch on that. And I have some stuff here that I can show. I have a bunch of props behind me on that too, but I'll flip it back to Christina here, and she can try the screen share that she was going to pull up.
Oh yes, it's not going to take too long. It may look weird.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, that's good. There you go. Can you see this? It should say something like, tell me about background information on energy. These are just a few things that we have on our website that may be helpful. So, whoops. We have you know, things that we create, so resources that we created specifically for kids. And so we have something called, you know, it's like a downloadable resource called Playing with Energy, and it's quite broad, as you can see, but we do have things like, if you see on the screen here, so for example, like squishy circuits or circuits made out of Play-Doh, and that was to explore electricity, for example. But we also have, you know, something to illustrate water power as well. So these are just meant to be simple things that are, you know, can be done with easily gatherable material, nothing fancy. We also have, so this is a virtual program, so these are online lessons plans that are free that anybody can download, and so maybe again in here you may find some inspiration, and these are really meant for teachers. And then finally, I wanted to show, I'm not going to show the videos, but we have like a whole series of videos on nuclear energy, for example, but we also have a whole bunch of other videos, and I think some of them apply. Jason, you were talking about specifically changes in state of matter. I'm trying to see if I can do this without actually getting a video to play. Oh, there we go. Anyway, so we have you know, for teachers and educators, some playlists where you can find some science demonstrations that could, you know, that include energy. So anyways, I'm going to attempt to stop my screen share. Hopefully that works.
There you go.
Did it? Excellent.
Success.
So I mean, I know that this is very broad. Maybe it's a good starting point for the conversation. Maybe there's other resources out there that I don't know about, but these are the one we have.
Does that explain things, Becky? Like I would, from my perspective, having taught on floors of museums in various jobs and in various locations, and so sometimes you're just, you know, wide open space, and there's people walking through with, you know, grandma and grandpa on their tour while you're sitting there with the class. Other times you have a classroom, so I'm sure we all are kind of, sometimes you're inside or outside. So I guess what I think is probably the most valuable, and again, Cassandra and Connie, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like a series of 4, 6, 8 activities that maybe each are 15 to 20 minutes long, that demonstrate a key concept that relates to the curriculum, kind of with, you know, so like, here's the activity, here's the materials you need, here's the concepts that it teaches, and here's how you deliver it. and then I think that gives the people in the museum field enough to work with and to train their staff, and then to do presentations for their visitors. Would you, Connie and Cassandra, agree that would be what you're looking for? Is it something different? Because we probably should figure that.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah, I agree as well. And like you say, to carry it through for the concepts and the delivery, I think that's where we fall down. Like as someone was alluding to, it's always a time crunch. You get the experiment done and you quickly tell them what it is and they go away and you think, I'm not sure they got the point. You know, so if you can do it in a nice, concise and delivery manner, you know, to make sure that they, you know, they got what they were supposed to out of the activity.
Yeah.
So I would have, I don't know, Catherine, I have two suggestions. I don't know if Catherine, if you want to go first, if you had anything.
Specific activities you're asking?
Well, so just I would suggest, like Christina was showing her database of resources. We also, I have no idea how to screen share, but we also have a database of resources where you can Google by grade. You can not Google, you can search by grade. You can search by topic, and then it'll come up with a whole host of activities that you can do. And the website is Cool 2.0, and so it's just green learning. I think it's just green learning Cool 2.0, and it'll come up. The other suggestion that I had would be definitely to contact your local Let's Talk Science organization in your area, because they do the best hands-on workshops with kids that are discrete, fun things that a lot of them are, you know, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there that you can do with the kids. And so I would talk to them and see if you could use their resources as well, because those are really fun, hands-on things that's not like a teacher presenting in a classroom.
Inside Education also has, again, on our website, tons of resources you can access. We also have a delivery team. Like we have a 1-hour classroom presentation on energy that is full of activities. I'm happy to share those with you. I'm not sure walking through our presentation is helpful to anybody really, because it aligns with our mission vision, but I'm sure you could pull ideas from there, perhaps.
Well, I have a couple of things that I've just brought out that I've used and I know are successful with some groups, but maybe not for yours. So I'm going to maybe I'll have some show and tell stuff I can point out, and then we can also, if you have anything that you know works, we can talk about that, and then we can. What I think would be good to do would be maybe like we were saying, pull some of these things from all of our databases together into a document with here's 5 activities that are kind of tried and tested. We know that they work. We know that the materials are easy to source. The concepts relate to the curriculum, and then you have a starting point to go from. Because I don't think it's a lack of resources, as we know there's a ton of stuff out there, and if you Google it, you'll find a million different resources. I think more the challenge for all of us is like finding which ones are the ones that are really good, and having like a group of people like this to say, hey, I've tried this is great, but if you have a carpet, it's a complete disaster because you're going to destroy the place. So those little bits of inside information that you need to know when you run these programs, I think this is where that's helpful. So, I'm going to show you quickly what I have, and then I'm going to be quiet and let maybe some other people pull up some stuff that they know. So one thing that I think is kind of neat, and I'm sure maybe Leduc or Connie, you guys have this. This is just kind of, we have this in our exhibit. It's kind of all the different stages of oil. And so people, I think, especially kids and also adults, they have an idea of what oil is, but like what are all the different parts of it? So you have like bitumen and what coke is and sulfur and some of the residuals from the refining process. So just samples like that are in jars that people can handle. They can see the viscosity, I think, is a neat thing. You can get Geiger counters relatively inexpensively. And you can do some neat experiments with this and just show that idea of radioactivity. So you can pick up radioactivity on bananas because they have potassium. You can also see it in bentonite clay or cat litter because it concentrates it. And the really neat thing is a smoke detector just will cause these to go off the charts. So that's actually how a smoke detector works. So it's just this idea of you can make energy from radiation, but also radiation is all around us. It's about how concentrated it is, whether it's dangerous. So there's these tubes, and I think, Connie, you may have had some of these. So this is a aluminum tube, and then you take some rare earth magnets, and so you drop them through, and it falls very slowly through here. So this is actually demonstrates electromagnetic induction. So this is what kind of how all generation of electricity happens, is you move a magnet inside of a certain type of metal like copper or aluminum, and it generates electricity. So this is really, we've done this where you make a whole bunch of these tubes and give the magnets out to kids, and they just drop them through. When you look through it like this, I don't think I could get the camera to work here. It just looks really cool because this thing just kind of floats as it falls down through at a really slow speed, and kids will just play with this again and again. And it's not magnetic. That's not the fact. It's just only when it's moving does it actually have an effect. So that's another neat one. In terms of the conservation piece or efficiency, you can get these machines called kilowatt meters. Or other energy. So basically you plug different appliances in and it tells you how much energy they use and how much it would use over a day or a year. So it's neat to like show different types of light bulbs of like halogen or standard incandescent, or you can go with an LED and see similar amount of lumens but different amount of energy draw. And you can also plug in things like, you can get kids to guess like what uses more, a radio or a toaster or a hair dryer or a fan. So what you realize there, or kids realize quickly, is that the amount of energy in, say, like a light bulb compared to making a piece of toast, it's completely, like making a piece of toast is off the charts. So that's kind of one that I think is really easy to do. And then you can also have them there where they're either plugging in or turning on a whole bunch of different electrical appliances to actually understand how much energy they draw. So those are just a couple. I also have a whiteboard behind me, and I'm going to stop, like I said. So a super effective and really easy activity you can do with kids is get them to tell you about what's in the environment. And then they come up, you give them a whiteboard marker and have them draw it. So, they're going to be like, oh, mountains are in the environment, right? So you get the kid to draw some mountains, and then somebody else is going to say, oh, there's going to be trees. So they're going to draw trees on their mountains. And someone else is going to say rivers. They draw the river. You provide them with all this stuff. They have a lot of fun. They're all laughing at each other's drawings. And then basically as a presenter, you kind of prompt them like, okay, so is a car part of the environment? And inevitably, I've done this 100 and 200 times, the kids are all like, no, they're not part of the environment. You're like, okay, well, where do cars come from? Well, they come from the factory, okay. Well, what are they made of? And you eventually get the idea that, okay, they're made out of metal, right? So, okay, well, where does metal come from? Oh, okay, well, it comes from the ground. So then you have somebody like put a little mine, here in the mountain, mine cart coming out. And then you talk about, okay, well, what are the tires made out of? They're rubber. Okay, well, what does rubber come from? Okay, rubber comes from oil. Where does oil come from? You get into this whole discussion of like realizing that all of our natural resources and kind of the energy comes somewhere out of this environment. And for a lot of kids, there's a big disconnect between that. And so I think this is a really easy, good icebreaker activity and can be done anywhere with like a portable whiteboard marker, set of properly working whiteboard markers, and it just is a really good, and the kids get up and draw, so that's what's kind of fun for them. But you also then challenge them to draw things that they might not think are part of the environment, and that's just that idea that it's all part of the environment, and even the garbage, when it's thrown out, it doesn't leave the environment, it's still in the environment, so it's kind of that idea of this closed system. I think it's very simple but pretty effective.
Jason?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just heard some word noises. Okay, I just wanted to chime in because you're talking about different, appliances and the amount of power or electricity they use. One thing that we did that worked really well is also compare the three kinds of, well, maybe there are more kinds of light bulb, but 3 kinds of light bulbs. And so we use the same appliance, but then we screwed in 3 different, like LED and halogen and all that stuff. And so that was another way that we could get, kids to consider what they would like to use in their own school, or, it was a way to demonstrate that we can be less wasteful.
Jason, I think you muted yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll unmute myself. Thanks. I'm going to put you on the spot, Catherine. Is there anything that you find with your programming that consistently works, or is it really it's a simple activity but has a big impact for this age group?
Yeah, I can tell you one. We've used this model for an activity, and you could kind of pick whatever topic you like to use it. But it's turning the students into actors in a play to demonstrate a process of some kind. So we've used it for electricity, where we start with coal, and then what happens is we bring, we prompt them with a question, and they come up as the volunteer that is coal. And then they, we have sound effects, so the rest of the class is the sound crew that makes the sound of the burning of the coal that will heat up the next volunteer, which is water, and the water bubbles. So, and we go all the way through to turning on the light in a house to demonstrate how we use coal to turn on a light bulb. And I think it's connecting that for them. And we get letters all the time from students and teachers saying just how effective that was. I think putting them into the process, connecting, from start to finish, and then their letters say like, oh, it was so great, I got to be the wind turbine, or they then remember not only the vocabulary but the whole process. And we've used it for fossil fuel formation, to electricity generation, with any sort of resource in there in the process. And so then we'd have 12 volunteers at the front. So that's been a really effective teaching tool for us. And we've used it in a variety of circumstances. We also do a lot of, we have a bunch of hands-on resources that we provide for teachers. And so we often bring them into the class. So one I was reminded of when you were talking about measuring the output of electricity devices, but we have what we call the care kit. And it's a whole kit filled with energy efficiency and conservation items. And we play a little guessing game with them. So we pull out something and they have to guess what it's for. And then we connect that to the stewardship piece. And so, for example, there's those vent covers to cover up heating vents in rooms that aren't used. But it just looks like a little magnetic strip. So what is that, and why is that important? And why do we not want to heat rooms we're not using? And so then we lead into a stewardship conversation. So we've used a lot of those. We have one for water, we have one for energy. Trying to think, anytime we bring in anything hands-on, we also use grab bag activities, which is, I guess, similar to the conservation kit. But we'll do it to highlight renewable and non-renewable resources. So they'll pull out a sample of oil sands, and attached is a riddle, and this is for grade 4, we use this, a little riddle, and then they can open it, they can smell it, they can see what it is, and guess that it's oil sand, and then we put it in the category of non-renewable. So we have a whole bunch of activities like that, and poster kits we use quite a bit as well. So on our website, and you guys can all go check these out. They're poster kits, and we've been able to project them onto the smartboard, and it's the same visual that they would see on the physical poster, but on the smartboard, and then we can, click and point out different things on the smartboard. So we use that quite a bit in the classroom as well. We don't have a museum situation, so it's a little bit different.
No, but so you're bringing I think for us, we're working in these museum sites. We have like a great historical context, and I mean, I've been to Leduc, I've been to the Oil Museum, I haven't been to Louise, I see, has joined us, but I haven't been to Kitimat's museum. But so you got all these great artifacts, and you got these historical pieces, and I think for us, all of us, we want to connect the kids to that past, but we also want to connect them to the science and like today. And so it's kind of, you have those great exhibits you can go through and you can tell a lot of the stories and the human side of it, but then it's really nice to have some hands-on, and because that's what kids are also going to remember, right, is when they get to play with things and manipulate them and touch them and smell them and get to act like I'm steam and, kind of be a bit goofy sometimes. That's what makes those memories.
And I think, too, this is Connie at the Oil Museum, we have just a simple one, too, because we talk about refining, and we have the products made from oil and not made from oil. And that's similar to your whiteboard. We get into a conversation of, like, what do you have on that's, could be possibly made from oil. So you get into the, the plastics and the vinyls and, running shoes and glass frames and CDs, all those types of products. So it does initiate a conversation, and they have no idea, the basis of a lot of those products. So it's simple, but it works.
Yeah, we have the same kind of thing. We have a short little video clip before we show our documentary, and it's just a whole bunch of different things that come from the oil industry. So I guess I'm thinking about the clothes that they're wearing, and then it throws in some ice cream flavors that kind of makes the kids think about it, and then we talk about it after that as well. So
an activity we use for product in the classroom is, I'm sure you've seen those or played 20 questions, but we give them a little sticker on their back that has a petroleum product, and they have to 20 questions, yes or no, with their peers to figure out which petroleum product they are. And it's a riot because obviously some kid will get there a toothbrush or sunglasses, like any of the plastic pieces, or Cheese Whiz or whatever.
Casey, you're on mute again.
Sorry, I keep muting. I can't remember what I was going to say. The Cheese Whiz drove it from my mind there, but I guess what do you think, Becky? Like, I know a lot of your stuff you were saying is high school, and they're kind of quite big pieces. Do you know, like, off the top of your head, anything that you find that your teachers that you work with have used?
No, but I will say, I can't think off the top of my head because we have so many resources and I'm not physically in the classroom doing them. It's more we give them to teachers. But the next thing we are developing is part of our oil sands programming. We're developing one of the modules on things for kids to do. And so, I mean, those could definitely be used for younger grades, but it's really understanding the oil sands and hands-on simulations that are easy to replicate in easily accessible materials. And so that will be available by the end of this year, which would be interesting to see, I don't know, to co-develop them or to have people's opinions on them, and then to be used by the museums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure if you're wanting to have some people test out some stuff, you could probably find some willing participants at some of the museums. I mean, we just have 3 of them here online, but are on this call, but we're actually in contact with about 30 museums, and some of them are more engaged than others. But and science centers, I'm sure that some of them would be happy to test out some of your products if you wanted some feedback.
Yeah, and then in turn, obviously, they could be museum once they're done.
One thing I was wondering, maybe Connie, Cassandra, Catherine, I was just in a classroom, me and Elizabeth, who's sitting beside me here and telling me when I'm on mute as well. We were doing some filming of kids and their ideas of where energy comes from and what are some of the challenges that we face with energy. And the thing that I remarked on was, and this is Ontario, so maybe it's different where you guys are because you're in some more oil producing. all of them said our energy comes from hydro. And of course, in Ontario, we call them hydro bills. And they pretty much, it was either hydro or wind turbines. And these were grade 6 students, so they would have done the grade 5 curriculum, they would have done the Ontario curricula, the grade 6 curriculum on electricity. And I was quite surprised that they didn't understand all those different elements. And then when I'd ask, like, well, what about your car? A lot of them said, okay, yeah, gasoline, and then it was like kind of like pulling teeth to get them to figure out that that came from oil. But a lot of them also said, oh, well, there's electric cars. So I just found it really interesting that even after having done, grade 5 and 6, where they should have learned quite a bit about energy, they still kind of just knew the one hydro, water spins a turbine and that makes the electricity. So I don't know, do you have any differences where you are, Cassandra or Connie, since you're actually in a place in the world that is actively producing fossil fuels?
I notice more with, oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Cassandra.
Okay, I notice more like in the rural communities that are coming to the center that they know a little bit more about just like the oil industry itself, because that's what's so big here in Alberta, not so much knowing the coal or natural gas or anything like that. But then the city schools, it's a little bit different because I don't think they see everything that can they don't make the connections to what they see outside. Like the kids that come from Drayton Valley, they get to see all the pump jacks. They see the rigs out in the field when they're going to school and that kind of stuff. So they're making those connections. But I noticed that, not saying anything bad about the city, but they don't see that as much, right? So they don't make those connections to the industry itself. And I think that's important. We have an energy map that shows the 4 non-renewable resources here in Alberta, so the oil sands, oil, coal, and natural gas, and they get to see it lights up, each one of them, and then we light them up all together. You probably saw it when you came here, Jason, but it, like, kids love it because they don't realize how much we have here in Alberta, and it's great for them to see that and actually realize that we do have all these resources. So.
What about you, Connie, where you are in Southwestern Ontario?
I think it's the same because, like you say, we are focused on oil. They're quite familiar, and we're close to the petrochemical here in Sarnia, where most of our schools come from. And then the other one is the windmills. We're a big windmill area now. There's a lot of windmills, lots of controversy, and so they're quite aware of that. But as you say at the museum, I mean, that's why I think it's important that we get into the alternate energy sources, and we do, a little section on that to make them aware. And like you say, we do the paths, the various paths, and similar to what was said, I mean, we do them just on, they get to put them together. We have the sheets and that, but maybe we just need to animate it a little bit more and have a little bit more fun with it, I think. And like you say, do the concept, the delivery and the concept. I don't think maybe we're getting through to them, when they leave here, of the points that we're trying to make. So.
How about you, Catherine? What do you see when you are presenting? Because you guys do programs all over Alberta, right?
Yeah, across Alberta. So as far north as you get, as far south, rural, urban, we present to them all. A few observations I've made would be that they're quite familiar with what's happening in their own backyard. So if we're in southern Alberta, they're thinking wind. If we're in northern Alberta, they're thinking oil. But they think everything comes from that resource. So I can ask them, how do we get our electricity? And they'll answer oil, because that's what is familiar to them. I think where Inside Education is really focused on is answering the why question. So we always connect it back to stewardship, which I think is a really strong, important message, but also a personal message for them that they can take home. And if we ask them, okay, we're going to, you've been asked to turn off the lights. Why? Why are we asked to turn off the lights? Why is that important? And connecting that back to our natural resources is the message they're often missing. They tell me to conserve water. Why? And so that's how we circle back on our programs all the time to really emphasize that natural resource connection to them personally.
All right. That's I think that that's also quite a big part from some of the curriculum redevelopment I've seen that's going on in Alberta. Right? Is you were mentioning that before, but it kind of that idea of sustainability and cross-disciplinary connections kind of goes through a lot of it. It's not just kind of strictly science anymore or social sciences. It's about blending all of those. So I don't think we're quite there yet in Ontario. There's some aspirational stuff in the curriculum, but it's not as clearly laid out. Does anyone else have any?
I think where our curriculum...
So keep going, Catherine.
I was going to say a lot of potential is on that inquiry base. So when asking the right questions, asking really informed questions, and if we can encourage students to do that through all of our programming, through their visits to the museums and science, asking really good informed questions, then all the other curricular outcomes will just fall from that.
Yeah, I think what we want to make sure also as museums is we're asking really good questions and we're being relevant, you know, to the past, but also to like the present and the future. But also that our visitors, when they come in our doors, they're having an awesome time and they leave remembering the place for the fun that they had, because then that means they're going to come back and keep that learning going. Mm-hmm. So it's really about making that learning experience super enticing and engaging. Does anyone want to add any other activities that they've thought of? I'm thinking that maybe, you know, maybe you have something. I don't know if anyone has a show and tell or anything that they want to demonstrate. Oh, Becky, you're on mute.
We just do a simple one of the oil spill, just to get the concept of the oil spill. You know, just take the little pan of water and, you know, dump some cooking oil in it, just to show them that, you know, oil and water doesn't mix. And with all the oil spills that have been in the news lately, that they get the concept of what happens. And there again, like you say, ask those questions of, you know, what is the impact? What happens, you know, the wildlife, the fish, like, you know, and those types of questions, just to, like you say, it's a visual. You know, they hear about it, but it's a visual to see exactly what happens, and then we try to help them, you know, clean it up. What would you do to clean it up? And this is, you know, the various things and materials that are used to clean it up, and like you say, the environmental impact.
How long does that activity take?
Pardon?
How long does that activity take when you run it with a group?
It depends. It depends on the questions. As you say, I mean, we set it up and we try to give, you know, just 2 students each their own little, you know, dish of water and their oil, so that they can do it themselves and, you know, clean it up and see how it's, you know, it sticks to feathers. We have feathers, and then they can, you know, put the feathers in there and they can see the impact of, you know, of what a disaster creates. And then we also take it through to, you know, what can we do, whether it's, you know, proper disposal of, you know, the garages when they change the oil in the car, or, you know, spilling oil on the ground, those types of things. So we try to talk it through that way, that what we can do at this level to be careful and conscientious.
We used to do that too. It was amazing. You would give them like straws and toothpicks, and they would like try to mimic the actual ways that people extracted, and you just couldn't do it. Let's do that at a booth. But Jason, what I was saying was, I love your idea of everyone putting together some ideas and then putting a document together of the modules that people can think of, because I can go through my resources. I'm sure Christina can go through hers, and Catherine too, and see if there's anything there, and then come up with a document, and then maybe on the side of each module we can put comments, lessons learned, things, so that we can, you know, have the list of the modules that, or the activities that would be good.
Yeah, I think that'd be really great. I think I just would, I'd love to be able to help, you know, Cassandra, Connie, and Louise, you know, be able to offer something come October when school groups are coming back, that they could have some, you know, they have great activities already, but give them some new activities for their presenters to engage with. It's always fun to have new material to present, as we all know, when you're teaching and you're doing the same thing. It's fun to find something new that fires up the kids and you know, again, has those really strong curriculum links, so you can hammer them home, like Christina was mentioning. Like, you can put, here's what we're going to do, and if it actually checks off the curriculum links, you can see the little light bulbs going off in the teacher's head, because if they know that they have some support. So Becky, because you're working a lot with high school students or teachers probably, they're science teachers, whereas in elementary level, at least here in Ontario, a lot of the teachers are homeroom teachers, right? So they might have generally if they had a science degree, they probably went into high school teaching. So most elementary school teachers we find don't have science degrees. So anything we can do to help them with the science, that's kind of a lot of the people who I'm sure come to all of our sites. So making those curriculum connections and then helping the presenters at the museum so that they can bang off these things for the teachers really, really supports them coming to our programming. One of the, yep. Who's that? Oh, okay. So maybe what we can do is we actually started a Dropbox. So maybe we can put up, we can each kind of write up a couple of, or find some experiments and put them up onto that Dropbox. I'll send a link around to everybody who's here. I'm actually going to ask Elizabeth, who's here beside me. She came up with this, or she found this really neat experiment with building a windmill. So I'm going to turn it over to her for a second. And I'll move out of the screen.
So I found it online. I was just looking up like conservation activities, just really Googling all kinds of different things. So the activity is that everyone is tasked with building a windmill that can run for a minute and can pull up a tea bag using a basic pulley. And it has to be able to withstand like a blow dryer or a fan or whatever for a minute. And they can pick their materials from their teacher, but they're using a currency. So whoever can build the windmill using the cheapest material but still accomplishing the task wins. So it kind of taps into people's competitive nature a little bit. It's getting a conversation started about windmills, and kind of, I don't know, it can touch on a lot of various topics on that one. So that was one that I found. There was another one. I don't remember what it was. That was the best one. Completely honest. Back to Jason.
Hey. Okay, well, we're getting close to the end. I don't know if we had any questions or anything from people who may have entered anything. I'm just going over the Q&A app right now, and I don't see anything. So I guess maybe we can wrap this up. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to add? I guess the next steps would be if everyone wants to maybe find the 2 best activities that they could suggest, and if you don't have any, that's fine. But if you have 2 or 3 and put them into a document, and we'll put them up on that Dropbox, and we can take them and put them all together and maybe put them into a similar format. Again, like name of the activity, kind of objectives, materials, and then science, kind of why you're doing this. Or what the science is behind it. That'd be great if you have it. If not, if you want to leave those blank, we can add to that afterwards. But then we can show that around in the next couple of weeks. That'd be kind of fun. That's a good starting point, I think. Does that work for people?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Oh, there we go. From Louise, I'll add the BC curriculum document for high school. Okay, thank you. Sandra, anything else?
Thanks for organizing this, Jason.
Thanks. Thanks for participating, everyone. Christina, anything?
No, actually, I was thinking about it. It's kind of off track from what we were talking about, but I guess I thought maybe I'd mention it. And I apologize if I'm saying things that you all already know, but for us in the school programs that we've done at the museum, any of them really, I'm talking in general, we've had some like the best of in terms of like structure of programming, and so I thought maybe I would just you know, chime in for 2 seconds and talk about them. So it was just for some reason we had, you know, I think that for us it was maybe not by luck, but we had 2 that worked really well. So one of them was for really young kids. We were able to do some short introduction and then go directly to an activity that everybody did all together. We just had many kits of whatever activity that we did. And then, and so it would alternate, so talking, activity, and for some reason that worked so well with really young kids who needed, you know, a lot of help, and from adults and from, you know, supervisors, and also didn't want to listen for too long. And then when we did activities for older ones, we did a presentation that could last longer, and then we had activity stations. And I know that maybe this is not what we're really talking about, and we're talking about activities, but in thinking of the program that you will be developing, maybe those are, you know, 2 structure formats that you could consider, you know, for different age groups. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thanks. Connie, anything from you?
No, I don't believe so. Certainly, you know, some little light bulbs went off when I heard some of the comments that were made. I'm thinking, yeah, we could apply that to what we do. I think we have a lot of the concepts. We just need to take them to the next level, or like I say, maybe animate them a little more, make them a little more fun.
Got to begin doing plays. Kids out there. How about you, Catherine?
No, it's great to hear what everybody's up to, and I'm happy to, you know, if anybody's ever in Calgary, Edmonton, wants to tag along on a program and see what we do, I'm more than happy to extend that invite. Or if you want a one-on-one chat and we can talk about some of our more specific resources, you know, for your learning outcomes, I'm happy to do that too, and I'll contribute to the document. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Catherine, do you and Cassandra know each other by any chance?
No, I don't think we've ever.
Leduc is just south of the airport of Edmonton, right? So you guys might be close.
We visited lots on professional development tours. We bring teachers there during our teacher PD. So we promote them whenever we're around.
Awesome. Yeah, I might have to take you up on coming to see one of your programs when you're in Edmonton or something.
Yeah, well, we do have I'm in Calgary right now, but we have an office in Edmonton and deliver programs. We visit 20,000 students a year, so I'm sure there's a chance.
For sure. Sounds good.
How about you, Becky?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I know, like you said, you do have a ton of resources with Green Learning. So I don't know if you could maybe talk to some of your other developers and see what they think might be a good fit for like a museum site. If there is anything that you could contribute, we'd love to you guys to share some of your expertise.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we'll absolutely have more stuff when we actually develop hands-on you know, components exactly that fits into this. So we will also keep you abreast of that as it's developing, so you'll have use of those as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much. I know Louise is here, but can't be heard. So we'll talk to you offline, Louise, and I'll be in touch next week. I'll make sure that everyone is connected on the same email, and I'll resend the link to the Dropbox. And if you want to drop in a couple of pages of ideas of your best activities, we'll see what we can massage into a really great list of things that can be done on site at a museum or science center. Thanks everyone for participating. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
See you.
Thanks. Take care.